Hello everyone, my name is Ahorangi Starchild. I'm a violet ray twin flame in Parakai, New Zealand. This is my first twin flame video in almost a year. And yes, I'm happy to be back. Everyone who's been watching me and following me know that I only make videos when I feel I have a contribution to make. My philosophy in life is a journey, not a race. So I only make a video when I feel that there is something that I need to say, that can bring some new perspectives into the twin flame connection perspectives, the twin flame world as we experience it. So I have made other videos. I want to say thank you for liking, watching, and subscribing. If you have a lot of questions about twin flame, browse through my videos. I'm pretty sure there will be information there that would be able to assist you on your quest. So I want to talk about today about the craziness of twin flame. I have come across various comments in the media and, in places like Facebook where people label, once you say, I am a twin flame, people immediately think, oh my gosh, she's lost. And I want to rectify, or I want to bring a different perspective uh, to that. Um, these people that make comments, they say things like, if you say you're a twin flame, you're delusional, you're crazy, you are interdependent or codependency in relationships. You're not balanced, in yourself, and that you have huge emotional issues. So to an extent, yes, it is true. Emotional issues, yes, for all twin flames. This is true. Because we have to ask, or I ask, I have a very logical approach to twin flame. I've always said that twin flame is not a romantic connection. Twin flame is a spiritual connection. But when we go into that connection and we don't know what we're dealing with, we wanting to know what is this, because most of the time we're so overwhelmed by this connection with this person that we can hardly function. And that is why I made the twin flame video 7 symptoms, so that you can determine if you are in a plutonic connection, um, which will be explained in my video called Why Twin Flame Doubt the Connection, and then the difference between plutonic and twin flame. So 7 symptoms. If you can fit your journey, your twin flame journey, on the 7 symptoms, if you at least start off with the first 3, and when you hit crisis or separation, when you start to explore twin flame, you can say, yes, this is the time frame for the first 2 or 3 stages of the twin flame, then I can say, yes, it's a twin flame. That's why I made those 2 videos. But what I want to talk about is, um, why do we have so much pain? Why do we feel like we need this other person to complete us, that this other person will make everything in our world okay? If we could just be with this other person, then you would be the happiest you have ever been. It feels like you'll be complete, and that your whole life would be happy and everything would be set right. Why is that? That's the question. So to answer that question that I've asked is, I had to ask, what is twin flame? Yes, besides the energetic where we share the same higher self, twin flame is also the experience of the ultimate experience of separation. Separation from what? separation from yourself, the fractured you. How is it that we become fractured? We become fractured through trauma. And I will use myself as an example here because I have been, I went for counseling, psychotherapy, in the beginning of this year after I made my twin flame vlog. And I was seeking help and answers for myself. I knew that I needed some counseling of some kind because the emotional pain was persisting. You know, to be in emotional pain knowingly and consciously for uh, a period of 5.5 years to 6 years with no relief is excruciating. You know, you start to feel like a trapped animal where like I started to feel like a trapped animal where I needed to find answers and seek help for myself. So I ended up in psychotherapy where I was diagnosed complex post-traumatic stress response. Okay. And there is a vast difference between PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder or post-traumatic stress response uh, and complex post-traumatic stress response. Because with PTSD is a short period of time. When I say short, maybe a couple of years or one or two incidents where trauma was experienced in the way that it was feeling like it's threatening your life and your safety. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder or response is where you have been in situations where you have been abused by your parents or caretakers over a long period of time, years and years and years of abuse. So I fall in that category where I was abused for a huge portion of my life by my mother. Okay. My father committed suicide when I was 7. So what I want to say here is any one person, I believe, who claims to be a twin flame is someone who has experienced severe trauma in their life from a very young age, from birth or being a toddler or, in the formative years of your life, and being in that trauma and in that abuse for an extended amount of time. Okay? So I started to connect the dots between my twin flame experience and my very abusive and traumatic childhood. And so when I say very abusive and traumatic, I'm not wanting to inspire or wanting, what we call it, sympathy. Okay. It's not about sympathy. This is just about connecting the dots. How did I become a fractured being, personality? Okay. And that is where the trauma is. The trauma is in the fracturing of the one self that you were at the time when you were born, completely one in your state. But it's through the conditioning and the exposure of abuse from people who are supposed to be taking care of you, people who are supposed to be making you feel safe and nurtured and loved, are the triggers and the outside factors that plays a part in the fracturing of the oneness that you had or that I had when I was born. Why do I say fracturing? because one of the symptoms that I presented, besides having very healthy boundaries, and well, at first I didn't have boundaries in my early years, and it was in the last 5 years, through my twin being my mirror, that I learned about boundaries, healthy boundaries. The not having boundaries comes from being abused from birth, not knowing what is permissible, what is right, what is safe, because there was nothing to compare safety uh, with being abused. It was just one string of abuse. Okay, it was just abuse all the time, and me just going into survival mode to survive that abuse and the battering. And the abuse was, in my case, mental, emotional manipulation, physical abuse, corporal punishment, as well as being drugged by my mother with medicine to make me sleep as a baby, as a toddler, as a youngster, or to make me work hard by giving me tablets containing pseudoephedrine to stimulate my body so that I would become overactive and play this and become the slave or be the slave. She had heavy narcissistic tendencies, so I was basically her slave, in the way of having to take on the responsibility of my father after he committed suicide when I was 7. I had to take on his responsibility. I had no brothers, no sisters. I had no family that I could turn to for assistance. No one knew what my situation was at home. So I had to disassociate to be able to survive in that constant environment of abuse and manipulation. I had to disassociate from my daily existence and my daily experiences to be able to survive. That disassociation, when you become an observer, I became an observer of my life, is a fractured. That's where I fractured. Okay, that's where I started to break down and break into pieces, because every time I committed or I said yes to something, a responsibility that wasn't mine, that I shouldn't have had been forced to carry, every time I gave in to carry that responsibility, was the trigger to me fracturing inside myself more and more and more. Okay, so that is where the separation takes place. Separation inside the self is the fracturing, is the disassociation of from yourself and your life, and becoming an observer for survival and protection. Okay. Um, Disassociation also helps with suppressing emotions. It helps to not being able to show emotion. Because in my situation with a very abusive narcissistic parent, um, if I showed any emotion in the way of crying or being upset, that would be a sign of weakness. And when I show weakness, she would intensify her abuse of me. So I quickly learned not to show any emotions or any vulnerability. Okay, so that is where the separation inside the self comes from. The separation is the disassociation, is the suppression of emotion, because those emotions don't get to be processed. You don't get to feel your feelings. It is about now the mind taking over and reasoning the feelings, reasoning with everything that is happening. and not acknowledging the emotional state of how you feel in that point in time. So where does the twin flame come into this? So from my personal experience is that when I met my twin for the first time, let's just go straight to the crisis section. So my twin, every time when he didn't acknowledge me in a way of greeting, when I went out to the drop zone for jumps, when he would give me like the cold shoulder, that was very hard for me, because I had these feelings that I was struggling to process concerning him. I didn't know what this connection was, okay? But yet I had to deal with this rejection. My mind was telling me that this is just another person. We don't even know each other that well, but yet he has this ability to make me feel vulnerable, okay? Because your twin, it feels like this person sees right through you. They see all your shortcomings, your those self-esteem issues that I developed because I was rejected by my mother from birth. I was never acknowledged as her daughter. And even as she passed away in August this year, she followed up on her word when she told me in 2012 that she was going to disown me. And she actually did disown me. She passed my inheritance on to my daughters, which to me that is the ultimate rejection. But because I'm in twin flame, and because my twin has been healing me, bringing me healing over the last 5.5, almost 6 years, with this final and absolute complete rejection of the person who birthed me into this world, I find that I can actually process that rejection, because that is what the twin flame connection does. It heals you. Your twin is the mirror that points out all the issues that you have concerning self-esteem issues, rejection, abandonment, codependency in relationships, because I was very codependent on my ex-husband. But when I met my twin, he was the initiator of the healing process inside myself, to make me realize that the marriage I was in was not a healthy marriage, that I was sacrificing myself, that I was codependent, that I was in that marriage and I didn't even know why I was in that marriage eventually. And that marriage also turned abusive in the last 5 years. Once again, emotional, mental manipulation, and to a certain extent, physical abuse. So, what the twin flame does is it triggers that suppressed emotion that is caused by the disassociation. When you start to observe your life, your twin comes and they trigger each and every emotion that you have stored up for self-preservation, to hide your vulnerability. Your twin will come and trigger all of that so you can release it. Okay? And that is the purpose of twin flame. It is to speed up the process of returning to oneness, to pick up your pieces, all the separation of where you've been scattered. I always said I was scattered all over the universe. I can't remember in which video I said that, but I know it is either in one of my Dark Night of the Soul videos, or it could have been definitely in one of my Twin Flame videos, where I say it feels like I was scattered all over the universe, that I was in thousands of pieces and I didn't know how to pick myself up again. But this is the beauty of Twin Flame, is your twin helps you to pick up your pieces. Every time you project on them, you have expectations of them. I had expectations of my twin to accept me, to listen to me. Please listen to what I have to say. I want to share my inner world with you. And he rejected everything that mattered to me. He just said, no, 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 not going to do it. No, no, no. And it was important. And even now I stress this. It is to respect your twin for the work that they do to trigger you. They trigger the obsession. They trigger the sadness. They trigger the emotional self-esteem issues of not feeling good enough. I don't have what it takes to be in a relationship or a connection with him. I don't have what it takes to be with him. But actually you do. You do. But you first need to take a step back and realize that when you are in crisis and when you are in separation, crisis is the trigger. Separation is the release. It gives you the space to release. And we go back and forth in the initial stages of our twin flame. We go back and forth between crisis separation, because you need to be triggered. And once you started to really release, you'll start to go into your where you surrender to that whole process, and you find moments, maybe a day or two of peace before the next trigger comes, so that you can release again. And I have made videos about my journey, how my twin triggered me, and how I had done research and meditation to find out, what is this? What is the purpose of this person that can, make me with a smile and break me down with a look? It's the ultimate experience of vulnerability to the core. And so the twin flame connection is that connection that helps, it assists people who've been traumatized, who've been fractured, who is in disassociation, to return to themselves, to pick up your pieces and become whole again. Because when you are in disassociation and when you suppress your emotions, you actually need something, someone from outside of you to reflect back to you where your pieces are that you need to put back together again to achieve your wholeness. And it is only people who can claim twin flame or say it feels like I'm in a twin flame connection who will actually understand what this is about. The people who puts the label on, you crazy, you delusional, you are codependent, you are toxic, you are way with the pixies. Those are the people who most probably never ever experienced trauma in their life. I'm not saying that they haven't experienced pain or loss or some sort of a challenge, but I do believe that the people who can speak so coldly, so clinical about the emotional and mental pain that twin flames have to release. The people who can speak about crazy and delusional and toxic and codependent are the people who more than likely have no idea what it is to live in a world where you are fractured, where you are broken, and you don't even know that you are broken, but you are in need of assistance, and that's when your twin shows up. Okay, your twin shows up when you need them the most to stop you in your tracks and to take you in a direction where you start to focus on yourself. Because I always say, twin flame is not a relationship, it is a connection, spiritual connection, and it's twin flame union. Union starts with you. When you are in pain, when you want to reach out to your twin, you have to turn that around and you have to reach out to yourself. You have to hug yourself. You have to give everything that you expect your twin to give you. You have to find a way to give that back to you. And that is what twin flame is all about. And I've always said, twin flames, people like Patricia McNeely, especially, she's a Blu-ray. You can Google her. She's a lovely, lovely twin. Um, you know, she always says twins have trauma, not only from this lifetime, but from previous lifetimes as well. So we have come to release our pain, to heal ourselves, and to pick up our pieces. But because we are so fractured, we actually need that mirror. We need our twin to mirror back to us where our pieces are, so that we can actually pull ourselves back together, put ourselves back together again, so that we can achieve our own oneness. Because it is crazy to think that another person can complete you. It is impossible to think that if I am with so and so, that my life will be complete and I will be happy. It doesn't work like that. You have to achieve your own oneness. And then once you are whole, watch how the pieces fall in place for you to actually get together with your twin in union. But you must do your work first. So I hope you enjoyed this video. When you go to my twin flame vlogs, you will see the emotional pain I was in. You will see that I'm always totally honest in my response and in what I share concerning twin flame, because I take twin flame very seriously, regardless of what other people want to label us to be. I do believe we are here on a mission. We're here to pick up our pieces first, and in between all of that, we bring in love and light. We are ascending. And we are also bringing in new templates on how the masculine and the feminine relate to each other. So please leave me comments, your thoughts on this video. Any twins out there who had suffered huge traumatic experiences, trauma, abuse, do you resonate? If you want to PM me, please feel free to send me emails. There's links below. You can find me. You don't have to put it all out in public and comment below this video, except for just to say hi and maybe connect with me. But if you want to share the more private sort of information with me, you can email me, or you can find me on Facebook and you can PM me. It's when we discover that we are not alone in our own emotional pain and trauma, and we can find support from each other to help each other, to speak to someone who actually understands. That is also what I would like to achieve in our twin flame community, is to know that you're not alone, you're not crazy. But if you've gone so far to say you are a twin flame and you can fit your twin flame union on the 7 stages, or at least somewhere in between, and you know exactly where you are and what your timeline is, then I would say you're well on your way to becoming whole again. Thank you for watching, everyone. I love sharing my experiences with you. Light and love, everyone.